All right, so you've been learning a little bit about string methods, and today I'm going to introduce you to one string method in particular that is I want to pay special attention to because it brings up a few different concepts that we want to focus on. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make myself a string. I'm just going to call it temp for temporary, and I'm going to type a sentence. Excuse me. This is computer programming class. So if I type system.out.println temp, then it's just going to spit out that string, and you see that happens right here. Okay. What you learned yesterday is that there are a lot of different string methods that you can use. So if I were to type dot length, for example, and put two brackets like that, then it's going to print out the number of characters that are in this. So 34 characters are in that. And if I were to type, say, substring, and then start at, say, 5 and go to 12, then it's going to print out all of the characters starting at spot number 5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I should see I, and then probably middle of computer or something like that. There you go, is comp. So that's how string functions work. So there's one called split. And if I type temp dot split and then in brackets put a space like that, what this means is I want to take this sentence and I'm going to split it up into individual strings based on the space. The space is going to act as what we call a delimiter, where it's going to be the symbol that defines what we want to split it on. So basically, the computer would look and go, okay, here's our string. That's not a space. That's not a space. That's not a space. That's not. Oh, there's a space. So we're splitting it here, and here, and here, and here. Now, what's interesting about this is that means I'm going to get a result of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different strings. So I'm taking one big string and I'm splitting it into 5 little strings. And so the question is, when I do this, where do the little strings go? Because this variable here says I'm holding on to one string. How do I hold on to 5 strings? And the answer is using a string array. An array is a special kind of structure where it holds on to multiple things at once. And you kind of saw this when we looked at the to-car array function. It basically blows this up, and instead of blowing it up letter by letter in this case, it's going to blow it up string by string. So if I type string, and I'll type words, because that's what I'm going to get is a bunch of words, not worlds. There we go. I'm going to get an error if I try to run this, because string put like this means I'm going to declare a variable that's a string variable. But when I run the split function, I'm not going to get one string. I'm going to get lots. So if I try to run this, I'll just take this out of here for a minute. I'm going to get an error because I can't hold the result of this as one string. But if I put these brackets like that, that means I'm going to get a string array of multiple strings. So if I run it now, no problem. There's no error. Now there's no output because I didn't really ask for anything, but it worked. Okay, so words is going to be holding on to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different strings. Excuse me. In the 0th spot of the array is going to be this string. In the first spot is going to be this string. In the second spot, this one. Third spot, this one. Fourth spot, this one. And so often when I'm teaching arrays, I will compare it to Google Sheets. I'm just going to take this and put it in a different window. Move over. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'll have to go back and forth. And so in this case, by putting it into an array, I would have an array called temp, and I'd have spots 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Sorry, an array called words. And when I split it up, this goes into the 0 spot, is goes into that one, computer goes into this one, programming goes into this one, and class goes into this one. So I have an array called words, and in the 0 spot, first spot, and so on. Okay. So here's the interesting part, is that hopefully we understand now that when I do the split, now I have this thing called words, which contains multiple strings. But if I try to print out words, watch. Woo, that's what I get. Okay, so this is yet another one of those instances where computers are so literal. We know what we want to do. We want to spit out all of the contents of words, but the computer will try to actually print out an array, which doesn't work out well, obviously. It prints out this thing, which is kind of computer speak for, hey, there's something holding on to a bunch of strings, but I don't know what it is. Okay, so obviously that's not what we want. So what we have to do is we combine for loops with arrays. And we say we want to start at the 0th thing, and we want to go all the way up to, in this case, the 4th thing, and we want to spit out the xth word. Yes, I said xth word. That's what, just getting my syntax right here, that's what this means. I want to know the xth word. So the very first time this runs, we get the 0th word, and then the first word, because we increased by 1, and then the second, and then the third, and then the fourth, and then it'll stop. So if we run this, then we get all of the words one by one, because we're spitting out each part of the array. And I can prove that to you by, I can spit out the x value. So actually here, I'll format it nicely. So in spot x, and then is. So I'm spitting out x, which is the value of x, so the position, and then the word at that position. So if I run it, you can see in spot 0 is this, and spot 1 is, and spot 2 is computer, and so on. Now watch what happens if I change this. So I'm splitting it on a space. What if I were to split it on the letter A? So if I were to split it on the letter A, now it's going to go all the way to there. So the first split would occur before that A, and then you would have another one there and another one there. So in that case, you're only going to get 3 strings. So if I run this, I'm going to get an error, because I'm trying to go all the way up to 5. Now you can see it tries to do its best, but it'll crap out, because this is the equivalent of trying to go to the 10th floor of a 9-floor hotel. There aren't 5 things to go through. So instead of a number right here, what we put is words dot length. And that will prevent the error, because this will only loop as many times as there are things in the array. Okay? So I'm going to go back and put a space here instead, because I don't really want to split it on the A. So now I'll get back to where I was. And now I can use the loop to control things. I can, instead of going from 0 up to the length, I could start at the length. So I could say start at however many things are in the array, -1. And I'm going to continue this loop as long as x is greater than or equal to 0. And I'm going to subtract every time. So what do you think is going to happen now? Well, here's what's going to happen. It will, it'll cause an error. What did I do wrong? Oh, I forgot a number. There. And there you see it goes backwards. Okay, so you can use the loop to control how you want to go through the array. You can go from 0 to the end, you can go from the end to 0. In fact, I can even say, you know what, I only want to show me the, every other string, and then it's going to show you every other, so only the even spots if you wanted to do that for some reason. There's lots of different options, so you can control a lot of things in how you go through your for loop. Now the other thing that I can do is I can use string functions on each of the words. So what I mean by that, let's go through here, and I'm going to make another string variable. I'll call it, no, bad one. Let's call it my word. Okay. And what I'm going to do is just show you that I can actually use string functions on each of the words inside. Because remember, words is an array. If I say I want to do something to the xth word, I can then call all the different string functions. For example, if I called length right here, actually that's a bad example because that's going to give me an integer. Let's do that. Int, and I'll just call it val. And I'm just going to take this, I'm going to put the word val right here. And I have a reverse array going on, and sometimes that's a little more not quite as intuitive. So I'm just going to go back to the way we had it, where we just go through the array going up every time. So words dot length. Oops, there we go. All right, so I have my temp. I split it into the words. The words are held in the array. We're going to go through the array. And here it says take the xth word and tell me the length, and hold that in an integer variable. So what this is going to do is print out the length of each of the words in the string. Right? This has 4 letters, and then is has 2, computer has 8, programming has 11, and so on. Okay? So each of these things, words bracket x, is in itself a string. And I can use all of the string functions. Just another example, I can say change val to a string, and instead of getting length, I could do substring. Now I have to be careful here, because if I try to do substring on a string that only has 2 characters, it's going to fail. So let's go 0, 1. And what that's going to do is basically just get me the first character of every string. If I run this, I should see T, I, C, P, C. There we go. If I try to make this a 4, what's going to happen is it's going to crash, because when it tries to do this using is, it's going to fail. See? This worked, but when we got to is, it wouldn't work. So if I were to fake it a little bit and isn't computer, let's try this. See, now we got 4 characters for each one. So you can use your string functions on all of the different spots of the array. Okay? So that's how you use the split function, which will split a string based on whatever character you want. It doesn't have to be a space, it can be anything you want. And it will create an array, and then you can use a loop to go through the array. And I just want to add one more thing before I end. I'll just show you this now, because this is actually, I don't want to use the word new, this isn't a new concept in computer science, but it's something that, it's called an enhanced for loop. So another way to do a for loop when you're dealing with an array is you can say for string w : words. What that line means is it's very, very common to have an array and then to want to go through the array using a for loop. So this is a short form for saying I want to go through the array called words. It holds a bunch of strings. I'm going to treat each one as w. And then you can just go system.out.print line w, and that should also, it's like a short form way of printing out all the words in the array. And you can also do string methods in a similar way, like so. Okay, so just an alternate way to do it, and again, this is called an enhanced for loop, and I'd like you to know about each of those. All right, so you should have everything you need to do the next assignment Good luck.